Hello everyone. In this tutorial video, we are going to discuss Workday reporting. Before we start the video, let's know about Upptalk. Upptalk is a live, interactive platform for software training, furnishing robust personalities who could take on universal business platforms. So, let's know about Workday reporting briefly. Workday reporting passes the range of financial reporting, real-time, user-defined questions provide the understanding wherever and whenever you need it. With all the data in the Workday reporting, reports can be reduced in graphical or tabular form for download and display. The topics we will cover in this video are working with related business objects, lookup related value function and date difference field. Extract a single instance in Workday. Extract multi-instance in Workday. To know more about the latest and trending technologies, watch other videos on the Upptalk channel. Please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel to know more about new technologies. This video will be covered by Miss Preeti. Now, let's not wait further and get started.
So our today's session is entirely focused on that. We'll be seeing how do we bring in data from related business objects onto our primary business objects in various ways. So we'll be looking at 4 different kinds of use cases and how each of the 4 different functions fit into those use cases to meet our requirement. So that's how we'll be approaching our today's session. And post that, I guess we have same ad hoc calculation that we need to look into, which we'll be covering tomorrow, and we'll be done with our entire calculated fields topic. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just start with the, if you're looking at this diagram presented here, it very well shows that from a primary business object, a primary business object can hold one-to-one relationship with some fields based on the related BO, or they can hold one-to-many relationship with some fields based on the business object. So if you can look at towards the left side of the screen, you would be seeing that many a times our requirement states that we not only bring in those fields which are directly built on the worker business object. Let's take worker business object as an example here. So many a times it's not that we are only bringing in the worker's last name, their hire date, their position details, or their language details, but we might have to go one level down and we might have to bring in data that is not built on that particular business object but one level down. So suppose what if your report requires you to either filter the report based on a secondary business object data for that worker. So suppose what if I'm looking at some position related details of the worker. What was so if the worker is sitting on suppose XYZ position, I want to see what is the position close date for that. So since that position close date is not directly available on the worker business object, we have certain calculations mechanisms available in Workday to help you achieve that. So this is how these certain calculations work. It's basically the end motive of all these calculations is to help us bring in that one level down or maybe 2 level down data into our reports via using these calculations. The 4 calculations we'll be completely focusing on today is lookup related value, extract single instance, extract multi-instance, and aggregate related instance. I will show you the use case when exactly do we use each of these kind of calculations. And now it's not just one level down data, it's also something called as maybe 2 level down. So let me give you an example. Okay, in Workday, okay, or in a normal environment, you enroll dependents, right, in your organization to avail those different kinds of benefit plans in your organization, correct? We do have nominations provided for PF. We do add people to be the nominees for our gratuity, correct? Or for that matter, we do if our employer provides us under a lot of health benefits or insurance plan, we tend to add those our father, our parents, or our spouses and our kids to that plan, isn't it? So those people are called as dependent in Workday. Now, what if my requirement in Workday is that we have to fetch the what do you call as the name, not just directly the dependent related details. We might have to fetch the birth date of those dependents, right? We might have to fetch what is the gender of those dependent, or for that matter, the marital status and things of those sort, right? So we are
Yes.
going here one level down. We are not directly fetching a particular detail on your primary business object. We are looking at a secondary business object, and based off that particular business object, we are fetching details of that particular business object. So you can always see it that way. But suppose my dependent happens to be in the same organizations. A lot of organizations do allow their spouses to work together, correct? And
Yes.
maybe it's something legal in requirement where I have to build report that if someone's spouses is working in the same organization, I have to fetch which organization, or suppose which cost center they are under, and which supervisory org they are sitting in. Okay, suppose
Yeah.
this is my report requirement, and I want to pull the cost center code, I want to pull the superorg code on my report. Okay, so here I'm not just pulling the superorg name or the cost center name, I'm also pulling the code of these organizations. Correct? Got it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So now what I'm doing is I'm going two level down. First, I went one level down and I pulled the organization names and all those kind of details on the dependent data, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I went one level down further and then I pulled the codes of those organizations. Okay. So that way, it's not that these calculations help us only bring in data from one level down. It also lets you go multiple levels down based on a requirement. It'll be like a hierarchical structure that you will be looking through, and it helps you fetch data on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so enough said. Let me jump into the tenant, and let's deal with our first use case, which happens to be a lookup related value function. So let me first build a date difference field here. The report is built on worker with the primary business object. So my field will also be built off worker BO. Okay, and this date difference should be in months.
Okay.
Okay, that's another criteria. Now my start date happens to be manager hire date. I know that there is no delivered field in Workday for that. So I'm immediately using the option of create calculated field from here. I'm going to call it as manager hire date. The business object here is going to be worker again, given that I have to bring this field on the worker primary business object. My business object here will be worker. And my function here will be lookup related value. The reason I'm saying it has to be a lookup related value is because I know that there is one-to-one relationship between the manager and the worker. In Workday, until unless you're not on multiple position, you are not assigned multiple managers. Your primary managers happens to be only and only one person. Here I'm only looking at the primary manager here. Only if you are in under a matrix model structure or anything of that sort, then only you get to get a matrix manager, which is I don't see many organizations going down that route. It's slightly complex route in Workday, so not many people do like to implement that model. But yeah, if you're on multiple, so suppose healthcare workers or any hospital or any life sciences and healthcare clients, they too tend to support these multiple position model. A doctor can be physicist and they can be a surgeon both, so all those kind of things. So in that case, you might have additional managers, but right now I'm only concerned with primary manager here. Primary manager is the person who happens to be the manager of your primary position. Okay, so I
Okay.
am going to show you something over here. I'm going to type just the manager word, and I just want to show you something what I want to explain. If you will see this entire list, all the symbols, only and only single instance fields are coming here.
Yeah.
Only and only single instance. The reason being lookup related value works on only single instance field. You cannot bring in data using lookup related value if your field is a multi-instance. Always remember that, like itch it on your brain somewhere. But
Yeah.
yeah, you have to remember that. If you are looking to bring value on a multi-instance field, you will have to go down a different route. We'll have to use a different calculation. We'll talk about it later. But yeah, for a single instance, it has to be lookup related value. So right now, I'm only concerned with my primary manager, who happens to be my immediate manager. I'm not going one level above them or two level or three level above them. I'm only concerned with my immediate manager. The description reads the immediate manager for the worker's primary position. Perfect. I'm only concerned with my what do you say, my primary position manager. So I'm going to select this particular field. Now I want to show you something. The moment I selected manager level 1, it gave me the RBO as worker. Okay. So if you will open this field, you can see here that the business object on which this field is built is worker. What this denotes and why you have to understand this very well is because whatever field will come over here, it'll be determined which is the RBO for this field. So you can only bring those fields which have their business object as worker in the return value. If this field would likely be happen to be position or organization, you can only bring those fields over here which are built of the organization business object or your position business object. Okay.
Okay.
Understood? So it's
Yeah.
very important to understand that what all fields are coming here are either they are built on global BO, which will be obviously under your global fields category, but the rest others are those which will be built off this related business object. Okay.
Okay.
So I know I have a very nice field called hire date available on worker BO. So I'm just going to pull that hire date and bang on, I have that over here. And yes, here I am. I am pulling on the, so how you have to understand the structure of this field is on the worker business object. I am pulling my manager's hire date. Okay, that's how you have to understand it. On the worker business object, I am pulling the worker's manager's hire date. And here I am. I have successfully been able to fetch the manager's hire date. I was trying to find the difference between the manager's hire date and the worker's hire date. Since this field is already built off the worker business object, I don't have to do another calculation. I have to simply look for the worker's hire date over
I
here.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the one that I'm fetching. It's built on the worker's BO. Now I want this date difference to be in months. So I simply click on months and I'm done. Return 0 on error and okay. Understood? Now let's look at our next particular function, which is extract single instance. Now extract single instance happens to be a very widely used function across what do we say, our reports. Extract single, so let me just do a recap for you. What is the difference between single instance and multi-instance? Single instance is that particular field which stores only one value for that worker. Like they can only sit in one position, they can only have one manager, they can only sit in one supervisory org, they can have only one salary plan and things of those sort. Okay. So anything and everything for which the value returned for the worker will be only one in number, that's single instance field. Many a times worker has multi-instance fields, like they can have more than one kind of dependence, right? They might have enrolled their parents plus their spouse. They can have more than one degree, correct?
Yes.
They might be a graduate plus a master's plus a PhD. So they have more than one kind of degree sitting on their profile. Now suppose from that multi-instance field, I have to only pull a particular value for that particular object. Okay. So from the dependents, let's imagine I have to only pull dependents which are of relationship type spouse. Okay. I have to only pull the dependent who has a relationship of spouse with my employee. Okay. So even though the worker might have three dependents, his father, mother, and spouse, I have to only see who is the spouse. And there is no delivered field in Workday that says that spouse. So you can just directly use that field spouse and pull their spouse's name. No. Spouses in Workday are stored as dependents, but if I will use the dependents field, it's going to show me the name of all the dependents that they have, their fathers, their mothers, and the spouse's name. But my requirement is that I only want to see their spouse's detail. Okay. In such situation, when I am slicing and dicing a multi-instance field to only look at one single instance of that multi-instance based on a condition, that is when we call it as a extract single instance field. Basically, you're extracting one particular instance of a multi-instance based on a particular condition. Understood?
Oh,
So now let me show you. Let's consider this example of dependent only, and let me build a field for you. Okay. I'll also start naming the field the way it's named for, so that you get under the habit of CF ECI. Dependent is spouse. Okay. This is
yeah.
the field I'm going to build. Of course, I'm building it on the worker BO because dependents sit on either employer worker business object. The function I'm using is called as extract single instance, which is right over here. Source field. Now I know that I'm pulling one instance of my dependent field. So I'll be using the Workday delivered dependent field here. Also, Shanti, while I'm building this, my one ask from you is that um, go and look at those kind of fields in your tenant which are not using just delivered fields in the source fields, but many a times you have to build calculated fields in the source field. So you might just open a ECI field or LRV and see how these calculated. That way now you will be able to understand hierarchy of fields. You'll be able to relate back more and more, and when the situation comes to you, you will be able to think instantly in that direction. Okay. Right now,
Okay.
I'm just pulling these Workday delivered fields, but maybe a dependent would have not been a Workday delivered field, correct? Maybe Workday dependent would have not have been. I would have to fetch dependent in a way. Maybe I have to build another EMI, or maybe I have to build something, other calculation to bring this field here. Okay. The one thing to note here is for creating extract single instance, your source field also has to be only EMI in nature. Means they have to be a multi-instance field. You cannot bring in a single instance and then again slice and dice it to be a single instance. Not possible
Okay.
technically, right? Because that field is already storing one value. What are you going to slice and dice in that? So Workday
Yeah.
only lets you perform this single instance calculations on fields which are of type multi-instance. How you can identify if it's multi-instance? This particular sign here says it's a multi-instance. The field type here says it's a multi-instance. Okay.
Yeah.
So even if you are creating a what do you say, a calculated field, ensure it's of type multi-instance to be used in a ESI calculation. Okay. Now the moment I selected dependence, my related business object became uh, dependent over here. Okay. Now, what was the condition that I was trying to fetch? I was trying to fetch dependents who have a relationship of spouse with the worker, correct? That is the
Yeah.
dependent I was. So this condition field basically denotes on what condition should Workday look for to slice and dice this data. What is the condition? If I will say just now, there are two ways of doing it. If the client would have said that just give me the first dependent who happens to come up in the dependent field value, I had no condition here ideally. I had to just pull the first instance of the dependent. So suppose if I have built the report, okay, I have built the report and I have, suppose the report definition looks like this. Where did I go? Yeah. So suppose I have built the, this is my BO column and this is my field column. Okay. I have built the report here. I have fetched the name of the dependents on this field. Now this field is giving me, here is your worker name and you have suppose three dependents, Shanti. You're getting ABC, your father name first, then you're getting XYZ, your mother's name first, second, and then you're getting your husband's name. Okay. That's
Yeah.
how you're getting your dependents, and then you're getting your husband's name. I'm just gonna type husband. Okay. Now, what my requirement is that just pull me the first instance of the field which is coming under the dependent value. Means they want to see ABC. If husband's name would have come first, they would have reflected the husband's name over here. Okay. So many a times the condition is not very clearly stated. It might be just the first instance, second instance, or the third instance. So if that is a requirement, what you have to do here is, yeah, what you have to do here is you have to just select this field to say is true. Okay, so yeah, what I was saying, that let me first give explain you the first scenario that I was talking about, that I have to pull the very first dependent which is coming under my dependent field, right? So here I have no condition. All I know is that I have to pull the very first dependent. So I will just say condition is true, simply that is true means that basically it's just a condition you fill when you don't have a specific condition. Sort field is nothing. So, or suppose they would have said that pull me the dependent which happens to be eldest in the age. Okay, pull me the dependent. So I would have put the sort field to be age here. I want to sort the dependent based on their age, and then I want the eldest one to come up, right? So means descending first occurrence, because obviously age will be if the eldest one has to come first, I want the first occurrence of the descending order, right?
Yeah.
Larger, smaller, and then the smallest, correct? Or else ascending, last occurrence. Of course, because if it's ascending, the smallest, then these younger one, then the eldest one. You're getting it?
Yeah.
That way. So either way, that would have been a sort field. If they would have not mentioned that sort them on the age order also, I would have mentioned a is true condition here as well. Simply, I would have said is true, and I would have just said that pull me the first occurrence from the descending. Descending means from the first to last, give me the first occurrence. Okay. So I would have just said first occurrence from the descending order, and I would have got that dependent who comes first in the descending order in the tenant. Okay.
Yeah.
But if they say that I want the eldest one to come up, so I would have said, I would have mentioned the sorting field here to be age, and I would have uh, done it that way. Okay,
Okay.
understood? But
Yeah.
now here I have a specific condition to look into. I have to pull this person who has the relationship of spouse with this
Yes.
worker. So I have to create a true and false. This field will always be a true and false condition. So what I'm going to do is, and one more thing to notice, your true and false condition should always be created on the related business object. It will not be created on the primary business object. It has to be created on your related business object. Understood? Means
Oh,
this true and false field that I'm building will be built on the dependent BO and not the worker BO. Okay.
yeah.
So always remember this while doing extract single instance and multi-instance as well. CF true and false, relation of dependent is spouse. Business object here is dependent. See, since that was the related BO there, I have selected dependent as a business object, and the true and false condition is this. And here it happens to be, now what I have to see, that the relationship has to be spouse. So I'll just see if there is a relationship field here. Or Shanti, I hope you have not forgot it, contextual reporting. If you don't know which field to use and you know where the data is stored in Workday, just go click on reporting fields and values and see if there is a field that is giving you that value. Got it?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
There is single
That
instance.
yeah, that's yeah, so it's a single instance field. That's completely fine. I'm not worried about this field will show anything true and false. You don't have to worry about what type of field in the
Okay.
selection list, because I'm looking at something. I want this condition to be true, so in the selection list, and see, these are the many relationship types configured in the tenant. It can be aunt, domestic partner, child, ex-spouse, friend, other, parent, sibling, same-sex spouse, spouse, uncle. I'm only considered with spouse, so I want the relationship to be spouse. Had I did not want the relationship to be spouse, I would have selected not in the selection list, but I want the relationship to be spouse, so in the selection list. Another thing I want you to recall, always use frequently used rather than using all, so that you don't get confused. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to click on OK. And here I am, I have built. Now here I don't want the sorting to be by a age. I want the sorting to be that this condition should be true. So my sort field here will be is true. Okay,
Yeah.
is true. I want the first occurrence from the top. That's why descending first occurrence. Had I wanted the first occurrence from the below, I would have selected ascending. Had I wanted a specific occurrence, so suppose this worker has just a very, I will say, hypothetical situation. Suppose this worker has 3 spouses, okay, and I want the middle one to come up here. Then I would have said specific occurrence, descending specific occurrence. Which occurrence? It should be second one. Okay,
Second. Yeah.
yeah. If you wanted it to be, you want to denote one particular number. This will usually come for you in use when you're pulling position details. So I'm going to click on OK, and here we are with our extract single instance. Now our next calculation here is extract multi-instance. So the next thing we are looking at is extract multi-instance. Multi-instance is almost similar as single instance. The only difference is, instead of pulling one instance from the multiple figure, I am pulling more than one instance. So suppose if my requirement says that, let me name it this way. You are the worker. This is the father for your dependent. This happens to be your mother, and this happens to be your uh, female child, and this happens to be your male child. Okay, this way.
Yeah.
These are the 5 dependents you have added in your system. Okay.
Yeah.
And instead of pulling just a husband or a mother or a father, I have to pull both father and mother in this. Okay. Or
Yeah.
suppose you have 2 female childs. Let me show it to you that way. You have 2 female childs. Okay. And they are saying that pull me those dependents which have relationship of child and has gender female. Okay. And they are not saying that it has to be a single instance field. They are saying that if they have more than one child which happens to be female, show me all of them. So whenever they say that I just want to see one instance, then you go with single instance field. Or you also have to apply your brains, right? If you're not sure that if the particular person has one kid only as female, or it can also have more than one kid as of gender female, then always follow the safe route. But here, since or you can do is you can create this report, and you saw that there are 2 female child that this person has, correct, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have to now put both the female child, so you cannot use extract single instance, right? Because it will just give you one value. You want both the female. You do want to extract something out of this multi-instance field. Of course, you do not want to show all the 5 values in your report. You only want to show these 2 values, but you have to extract it. Anyway, you're doing an extraction here, right? But what?
Yeah.
You're extracting multiple instances from this field, correct? Not a
Yes.
single instance. So in that situation, you will use a female, what do you say? You will use a multi-instance, and I want these childs to be sorted by age. When I'm doing a multi-instance, I want them to be sorted by age. Okay.
Yes.
Now I will show you something. Now let me go and create this field. Or let me write female children, because it can be more than one. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, the dependents are on the worker BO, and I'll be selecting extract multi-instance here. Now, this is very, very important to understand. Okay, each of these functions. So hear me out very well. Okay,
Yeah.
these operation types are of multiple ways, and I'll give you a different example for each of them, because I cannot really. Okay, I can give it with dependence also. Okay, so if you are pulling subset means you have learned this thing called, right? Yeah, join and
Union.
union. So I'm going to do something like this for you. Okay, when do we use subset function? When we have a whole, I would say, we have a bigger circle. This bigger circle has what? All the dependents, right? Imagine the biggest circle to have all the dependents. I cannot really draw a circle here, but out of that circle, I have to only pull a particular subset of it, right? So here I'm just pulling the children, right? So in
Yeah.
in that dependence, then I will use subset as operation type. Okay. The next operation type happens to be intersection. Okay. Now intersection is when I want two particular circles from value from two different circles in this. Okay. So suppose I have female dependence. Okay. One circle is female dependence and the other circle is male dependence. Okay.
Okay.
These are the two circles. Now out of this, I want dependence of type parents in this. Okay. Of course, parents, my mother will fall under female, my father will fall under male, right? So
Yeah.
I have to pull all the dependents from both the circles who happens to be of type parent. So in that situation, I'll be using the subtype to be intersection. Okay. Then the next subtype we have is except, means out of two values. Let me not use dependent now here because that's difficult to understand. Except is means I am leaving out a particular section of two circles. Okay. So let me take up a example of benefit. Okay. Now every employee in Workday or every employee in an organization has two kinds of benefit. First, benefit for which they are eligible. Okay. Me
Yeah.
being a female, I might be eligible for a lot of maternity benefits as well, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And the other circle is the benefits for which I have enrolled myself, means which are currently active. But maybe right now I am not planning for a maternity break, or maybe I don't have a child. I'm a single woman. I'm not married. And so I have enrolled myself in maybe those benefits which are applicable for me right now. So in this particular list, if I only want to pull those particular ones, the benefits which I am only, which I'm eligible for, but I have only enrolled in them. Okay. In that situation, I'll be using accept. Okay. So in
Okay.
that situation, we use the function subtype to be accept. Then comes union. Union is very easy to understand. You are basically not leaving out anything. You're pulling everything from both the circles. Okay. So
Yeah.
suppose a worker has different roles for them, right? You will have a manager in the organization, you will have a HR partner in the organization, right? And you might have a performance partner in the organization who looks after your performance details. And I want to, so suppose a worker has, they have been assigned a manager, they have been assigned a HR partner, and they have been assigned a talent partner to look after their talent related issues. And I want Workday to give me all these three together. In that way, I'll just do a union. You're getting it? So
Yes. Yeah.
this is what each of these subtypes means. You will use a subtype, subset when from the bigger circle you're only extracting a smaller
Small part.
circle. You will
Okay.
use the intersection when there are two different circles, and from those two different circles you want just a particular part of those two circles. You'll use an except when there are two circles, but from that two circles you only, it's more like intersection, but it's like I'm leaving the other circle and a some part of my first circle outside. Okay.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then comes my union. When I'm not leaving out anything, I want both the circles to come into the picture. Okay.
Yeah.
Now my source field will of course be dependent. Now again I have to state a true and false condition here. Okay. I have to state a true and false condition here. So what is the condition? That they have to be, first they have to be of relationship type children, and the second that the gender should be female. Okay. So I'm going to create a true and false condition, and you will help me create the condition. I'll name it as CF relation. I'm just going to name it as female children. What should be the business object?
Worker.
So what will I choose here now?
Dependents.
Yep. The function should be, it's a condition, right? I
Yeah.
want a particular condition to be true or false. So what function should I be choosing here?
Boolean.
Yeah, Boolean. Since I'm building a true and false condition here, I'll
Yeah.
be choosing a Boolean. Now tell me, there are two conditions to be met here. First, the gender should be female. Second, the relationship should be of type child. So what should I type here? What should my immediate
Gender.
instinct to be?
Gender.
Gender,
Gender.
exactly. What should be the operator? From where should I choose?
Frequently used.
Perfect. Which operator should I be choosing from here?
In the
I want the
selection
gender
list.
to be, yeah, because I want the gender to be female. So I want it to be in the selection list. Now this is here.
Female.
Select. Okay. Now my second condition should be, now tell me, should it be an and or a or? This condition.
It should be and, because
I
both the
want it to be
conditions should be
gender. Yeah,
female
because
and
I want both
relationship
the things to be.
true.
Yeah, because I want both the conditions to be true, not either one to be true. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I'm using and here.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Okay
Yeah.
then. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
so
Then.
much.